Have you ever heard of the legendary Nazi UFO? Perhaps not, but many people believe that such a thing really existed and was created in a secret bunker beneath a mine in Poland. This strange flying machine was said to have been constructed from mysterious violet jelly. It was known simply as Die Glocke, which means the bell. What was it? A deadly alien craft, a bizarre form of Nazi time travel. Or is this just another crazy myth inspired by the Third Reich? Let's take a closer look at the truth behind the mystery of Die Glocke. It was first mentioned in print in 1990 by the Polish journalist Igor Witkowski, who claimed that he had seen declassified SS documents referring to the bizarre weapon. These documents apparently mentioned a huge bell-shaped device being built beneath the Wenceslas mine in the town of Śląska Ruda, located in what was then occupied Poland. According to the documents, this top-secret project was overseen by SS General Hans Kammler, who was in charge of all of Hitler's underground projects. The name of the project was Project Glocke or Bell Project. And although the original documents are nowhere to be found, they were clearly detailed enough for Witkowski to write several books about Die Glocke over the years. His account was the first to attract any serious attention to the story, and it was picked up by German tabloid newspaper Bild der Frau, which published a story about the supposed Nazi UFO in 1991. But how did Hitler's engineers come up with such an unusual idea? According to the documents, they took inspiration from the double-layered structure of a bell. This would become the basis of the design for a new type of flying machine. But rather than being made of metal, Die Glocke was made from a mysterious violet substance called Xerum 575, which was kept in two large cylinders stacked on top of each other inside the bell-shaped housing. These two cylinders were said to rotate in opposite directions, and the resulting energy from the counter-rotation would allow Die Glocke to fly. Some reports also say that the device could move vertically as well, which might have been possible thanks to jet engines installed in the upper part of the bell. There is no real way to tell where these cylinders got their energy, or how exactly they managed to make Die Glocke fly. But, according to the documents, the entire system was controlled via a magnetic amplifier. Perhaps the most bizarre aspect of Die Glocke, however, was the nature of the mysterious violet substance used to build it. X-ray tubes were installed into the walls of the cylinders, so that the scientists could observe the inner workings of the device without having to open it up. But it was quickly discovered that the intense radiation given off by Die Glocke turned the air inside the chamber a deep violet color, and so the walls of the X-ray tubes soon became clogged with crystallized tissue. This meant that the scientists had to enter the chamber themselves and remove the tubes by hand. But merely stepping inside Die Glocke proved to be extremely dangerous. The workers were exposed to heavy doses of radiation that caused their blood to coagulate. As a result, 5 scientists are said to have died while working on the project. What was this strange, violet stuff? Some believe that it could have been an early form of plasma, but the fact that it contained unknown properties that caused such severe biological effects would suggest something much more exotic. One of the main reasons that Die Glocke was never completed was because the scientists working on the project simply couldn't figure out how to contain the violet substance. They apparently tried mixing it with various metals, but none of them could withstand the intense radiation it produced. After the second cylinder was installed, the scientists were ready to run some tests. They opened the device up and poured a small amount of Xerum 525 into the lower cylinder. Then they started rotating it. But after just 1 minute, the radiation output was so strong that the entire building was shaken and the device emitted a loud bang, causing part of the ceiling to fall down. Nobody dared to enter the chamber afterwards, and so the project was abandoned until April 1945, when Soviet forces began closing in on the area. As the Red Army advanced, the Nazis realized that they wouldn't be able to keep Die Glocke a secret for much longer. So they evacuated the site, and it has never been seen since. Its current location, if it still exists, is a mystery. What was it? If Die Glocke really did exist, what was its purpose? Why did the Nazis go to such great lengths to hide it? Unfortunately, there are no surviving documents offering clear answers. But a lot of speculation has arisen over the years. One of the most popular theories is that Die Glocke was some sort of anti-gravity device. You see, just before the end of the war, many of Hitler's top scientists, including those who worked on the Enigma code-breaking machine, were brought to a secret conference in Bavaria. During this meeting, they discussed the possibility of creating a self-propelling flying machine that could defy gravity, using a power source known as the cosmic egg. But these plans were scrapped. When the war came to an end and everybody went home, some believe that Die Glocke was the only machine that the Nazis actually managed to build using this anti-gravity technology. Another theory is that Die Glocke was a time machine. Weirdly enough, the scientist who designed it, Gerald Bull, was executed by the Allies for war crimes in 1946. But just 3 months before his death, he wrote down the following words in his notebook. "Time is dead. Only today is real. Yesterday is gone forever. Tomorrow does not yet exist." Some people have interpreted these words as proof that Bull was working on a time machine that could travel backwards through time. And it has been suggested that Die Glocke was the machine he was working on. But perhaps the most far-fetched theory is that Die Glocke was an early form of UFO technology. Maybe the Nazis really did manage to get their hands on an alien spacecraft, and they were trying to reverse engineer it using the mysterious violet substance. The X-ray tubes that were damaged by the intense radiation could even be evidence of this. Perhaps the Nazis observed that the device had a second layer inside, and they assumed it was some kind of shielding that protected the aliens from the intense energy inside. Or maybe the cylindrical shape of the device is too similar to the modern model of a UFO to be just a coincidence. It should be noted, however, that mainstream historians don't take any of these theories seriously. They generally agree that Die Glocke was nothing more than pseudoscience, and that it never worked. The so-called documents that were referenced by Witkowski were almost certainly fake, and the project was little more than an elaborate hoax. The only reason that the Nazis spent so much time and money on it was because they believed it could work. But once they realized that it was nothing more than a fantasy, they abandoned it. There is no solid evidence that Die Glocke ever flew. In fact, there's barely any evidence that it even existed at all. However, this hasn't stopped authors and filmmakers from coming up with creative stories about the mysterious device. Over the years, it has appeared in several UFO documentaries and fictionalized accounts, but it will probably never be proven to exist. Yet, despite the lack of evidence, it has remained one of World War II's most enduring legends. The idea of the Nazis building a bizarre flying machine that could defy gravity and turn the tide of battle is simply too good not to believe. Even though Die Glocke is likely just a myth, it has captured the imaginations of people around the world. And maybe that's all that any good story really needs. Now check out the real secret weapons of World War II, or watch Hitler's insane plan to assassinate F.